Before we jump into this week's podcast episode, we just wrapped up our semifinal prep camp with 22 of our 38 semifinal athletes here on site, and we have 3 workouts that we videoed for you that are now up on YouTube to get a look into our training here at Training Think Tank. Go watch them.
So you were saying you have been watching Hiller's videos.
Some of them, yeah. Adam watches them while we.
I feel like it's like everyone watches them, but no one wants to admit that they watch them.
I haven't watched the most recent steroid one, but I watched. Somebody sent me the one on hip and still, so I watched the whole thing on that. That's a good kickoff point. That's you got no rep in quarterfinals, and
I was the only person in the region that
no,
got
you weren't.
No rep on pistols and GHD sit-ups.
Oh,
so like
hold on, before you get too far, just tell the people who this guy is.
Yeah, sorry, Matt. This is Matt Galpin. He is a semifinal level athlete out of. Can you guys guess his accent? Go ahead and talk a little bit, Matt.
Oh, I don't know how to.
Say something about Barbies
you know
and
that
shrimps.
pressure? Barbies and shrimps, yeah. Crikey.
Do they have Outbacks in Australia?
Yeah.
The restaurant? Is that like a popular thing?
You're going to break my heart.
I don't know.
That's as
I don't
close
think we have an
as-
Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah,
there are steakhouses, but I don't think we have an Outback Steakhouse.
Now let me ask you this question: have you been to an Outback? Why can I not say that today? Steakhouse.
I've been to. Yes, I have. I've been not to an Outback Steakhouse. I've been to
A steakhouse out
a
back.
steakhouse. That's
In the app.
yeah. Like
No. The U.S. chain though.
Oh no.
Okay,
no, I
that's
haven't
what
been
I
there.
meant. That's as close to Australia as I've ever been, and you would probably smack me if you could reach me right now.
Well, I was going to say, I wonder what it's like.
It's not. I mean, it's Americanized. It's just like going to the Mexican food chains.
What makes
here.
something authentically Australian?
That is true.
Is there something? You were talking about Vegemite or something?
Yeah,
like
maybe you could get like a steak marinated in Vegemite or something like that.
That sounds like something you'd use to blow up something.
It would be disgusting.
What is that?
You don't know what Vegemite is?
No.
It's like this spread that you put on a bagel or toast or anything like that.
What is the base of the spread?
It's made of like fruit, not fruit, vegetable like offcuts. Or it's like this juice of the vegetable kind of thing. It's like this black spread. It's like
do you put it in a blender and then like mix?
It's like smooth, creamy. It's like black cream cheese.
Really?
It's like, have you guys got Marmite here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Marmite. It's basically that.
It's what? What are you saying?
Marmite.
What is he saying, Brandon?
Marmite?
Marmite.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
You've never heard of that?
You've heard of this, Brandon?
Yeah, I've seen maybe I'm thinking of something completely different.
Well, it's like a black spread.
Yeah.
I've never heard
you
mite
can get that at
the end of any of this. Sounds like some dynamite. Like you're about to blow something up.
So let me ask you this: do you have some with you?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't eat it. It's gross.
Oh, okay.
My girlfriend loves it.
Is like a authentic Australian? They
have Vegemite flavored. You can buy a Vegemite flavored like scroll. You can buy a Vegemite pie. You can get like
that is
chips
so
that
crazy.
are Vegemite flavored.
What is authentic Georgia? Just pecans?
I don't know. How is this your first time to the States?
Technically, yes.
Technically,
I've been to Hawaii. That doesn't count.
So now that you've been here, what do y'all do better than us?
What do we do better than you guys?
Yeah, what's like where you're like, wow, these guys are slacking.
I don't know.
Nothing comes to mind.
I really like it here.
USA.
Yeah.
USA.
Maybe.
Have you been down into Atlanta yet?
No,
went
not
to
yet.
the aquarium or anything? I figured Adam would take you down there.
Why do people always bring that up?
We've just done.
Who wants to go to a town and look at fish?
We did talk about the aquarium.
I love the aquarium.
I do come from Australia where there's fish.
Yeah, that's true.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
what city are you from?
Brisbane.
Okay, and how big is Brisbane compared to like Sydney or some of the other like Melbourne?
Brisbane's probably about the same size as Sydney, Melbourne. Like I wouldn't say it's any bigger. I think the population's probably a little more dense in Sydney and dense in Melbourne, especially Sydney.
Yeah, I've always been interested. Like, what's the city life over there compared to? I guess if you wouldn't know if you haven't been in downtown Atlanta, but is it like the hustle and bustle, and it really is the center of everything?
Yeah. Okay. It's more or less the same. Brisbane City's relatively busy. Like I hate going in there because there's people everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think Sydney is even crazier.
Right.
I mean, it's probably got nothing on somewhere like New York or anything like that, but it's pretty busy.
What about the suburbs? Are they similar to what you see here, like in Roswell or Alpharetta?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same.
Houses, developments, that kind of thing.
It's quiet. There's not too much going on. Like, it's nice, and you can go further out, the further away you get from the city, the calmer it gets, which is I guess that's pretty standard
for sure.
And the land shrinks. The closer you are to the city and the more expensive things get.
Yeah. I want to come back to the no reps because I know that's where we started and we kind of jumped around, but I think it's more important to figure out where you came from and how you started in CrossFit. So just from our conversations, like hanging out in the gym, you've been here for what, like 3 weeks now?
Just over 3 weeks. Yeah.
And Matt will be leaving next week. I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but he's going back to Australia for Torian Pro. You did some rugby. I believe maybe a little bit.
No, I worked in rugby as a strength coach.
Hockey is one.
Played ice hockey.
Yeah.
I actually started playing that when I lived in the Middle East.
Nice.
So I found that through some friends. We went ice skating one day, and I think I was maybe like 11 years old. And actually, I was younger than that. And they played ice hockey. I was actually okay at skating, so I played ice hockey the next week, and then I kept playing and playing. Eventually, we moved to Australia, and we actually picked Brisbane and where the area we lived in because it was close to the ice rink. So played ice hockey through that. Ice hockey in Australia is not big. It's okay. Like we have a semi-professional league, and Australia has a team that plays in I think they play Div 2B in the World Champs, which is it's not as low as it gets, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And then I actually started playing inline hockey, which, I mean, anyone that's American, I normally have to explain what that is to people, but I think people that...
Rollerblades.
Yeah, rollerblades. I think
You're not
people
on ice.
that are from here know what it is, which is a little bit better run in Australia. So I played that for years. I played for
Do
Australia.
people still rollerblade in Australia?
Yeah.
Really? No one told y'all that wasn't cool anymore?
It's actually come back. It's a little bit of a fad.
I feel like that's how it is.
Yeah, if you go to the beachfront, there's people on roller skates and that
awesome.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow.
It
There was just like a day
where
we all woke up one day and it was like, no more rollerblading, y'all. I was
Man,
like, okay.
I used to rollerblade every single night.
Same.
Really?
I used to cut
Yeah.
a rug on
Oh, yeah.
those things.
We had this giant hill. I used to live in this kind of small neighborhood, but it was big loop, and then there's this one giant hill, and we would go around the opposite side so it wasn't super steep going up, and then just go straight down the hill and then
bomb
do
it.
Yeah. Oh man, it was so much
that's
fun.
kind of scary.
Yeah.
I feel like people in Australia woke up one day, at least in my social circles, and were like, "Oh, rollerblading's cool. Let's do this."
Man, I would love that to happen again.
Yeah, and then
'cause,
all of our
it really
gym
was.
members are-
I'm not just joking. It was like one day you woke up and it's like, this is not allowed anybody.
Should we bring it back? I mean, we could rollerblade around the gym.
I would love to.
We have a one of those pull along floor scrubbers that cleans our gym back home, and I've thought about bringing my rollerblades in so that I could just wheel behind it and let it pull me. But I'm also scared I'm going to slip and do my knee
Oh man,
on the wet floor. So
That would be awesome,
I haven't done
though.
that yet, but that's one perk.
The scrubber here breaks every 2 days. So
Ours is the
same. They're like $10,000 for the machine, and they always break.
And they just break.
All right, so you did hockey.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Ice hockey, inline hockey, and played for Australia playing inline hockey, which is actually how I became an Australian citizen. I'm actually South African.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You mean you were just born there? You popped
Yeah.
out, but your family's Australian?
No, my whole family's South African. We left when I was 7 years old.
Do they sound like you sound?
My mom and dad have a more South African accent.
Oh
to
man,
theirs.
I need to meet them,
Yeah,
or at least hear them talk.
it's different. They haven't got the super strong one.
Yeah.
But it's still there, especially my dad. My mum's been around Australia a little bit longer. My dad still works overseas, so his accent has stayed kind of South African-y.
Right.
To me, they just sound normal.
Yeah.
Even compared to other South Africans.
Chris and I were just talking about this a couple minutes ago before you walked in.
Yeah.
About how Chris doesn't think he has an accent, but if you go somewhere else, everyone's like, "Man, you have a southern
Yeah,
accent."
people are
Yeah.
like, you're Southern. I'm
Yeah. It's
like,
no,
no,
it's
you haven't met
normal.
my friend Rick. He sounds real
exactly.
Southern.
You could find some southern
Yeah.
people.
I'll show you Southern.
Do you think that we have strong accents?
I would say no. Because obviously I listen to the podcast.
Right.
So I hear both your voices all the time. I can tell that there's a difference. I can tell that yours is more southern and yours isn't quite.
That's because
I
he's
don't-
from fucking backwoods Florida. Fucking who knows what that is?
Yeah,
That's just filth coming out.
Yeah.
inbred people.
But yeah, the accents are there, but I wouldn't pick them as strong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So wait, so you grew up in South Africa and then moved to the Middle East.
Middle East, and then I moved
What age did you move to Middle East?
7.
7.
And then I moved to Australia when I was 11. And
You just didn't feel like staying put in one place, or
I gotta jump around a
My
little
dad
bit.
liked to move, and then I moved from Australia back to the Middle East when I was like 14.
Man, these are all things I didn't know.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adam Rogers, for telling me.
He probably doesn't know
He
this.
doesn't know, yeah.
It's such a debacle to explain because it's
Right.
like back and forth and back and forth. That was my childhood.
one time I moved from Florida to Chicago, Illinois.
What? You didn't tell me that.
No, for school. I went to college.
But yeah, and then when I was in the Middle East, I'd always like ridden motorbikes growing up, but when I was in the Middle East, we actually started racing and riding bikes a lot, and I actually shifted away from hockey into motorbikes because it was like, okay, weekends are Friday and Saturday there.
For sure.
And it was like, okay, well, what do you want to do with your Friday morning? Do you want to play hockey or do you want to ride motorbikes?
How old were you at this point?
14.
Now, 14's maybe a little young, but did you notice a change in the way the ladies would look at you versus on the rollerblades versus the motorbike?
Honestly, the girls at school loved the motorbike thing.
Yeah.
That's why you got into it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Because it's come watch me play hockey. Oh, do you want to come to the desert and ride on the back of my motorbike with me? You know, like
Get
That's
the
how
wink.
you got 'em, huh?
Get the wink in there.
Nice.
but yeah, did that for a number of years. Broke a few bones.
Yeah, I was gonna say that could be tough.
What'd you
on your
break?
body.
I broke my collarbone, my ankle, my wrists,
All separate?
all separate. I broke my other ankle. I tore my ACL.
Is this common for those people?
Oh yeah.
Like, is there ever a guy who's like, he's never had an injury?
If that was real, that person's very lucky, or it's just really, really.
What was the worst one?
In terms of like severity? Probably my ACL because that's affected me for the longest. But the worst one in terms of like how it happened was my collarbone. I like had the bike land on me, heard my collarbone snap. Some random Arab guys in the desert had to drive me to the hospital. They were very kind about it, but they're doing like 100 k's an hour in the back of their Toyota Land Cruiser on this like desert bouncy road, and I'm sitting there like this at 15 years old,
Popping up and down.
yeah.
Hurts every bump.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I did that up until I left the Middle East when I was 18. Came back to Australia to go to study, and started playing hockey again because it's very expensive to ride motorbikes in Australia. So started playing hockey again, and then that led into playing CrossFit.
You are playing. I mean, playing CrossFit.
Yeah, into CrossFit. So I started CrossFit. Oh man, when was it? Like 2016, I think. And then I did
What was your first workout?
My first workout was Karen.
Okay. It's always like one of the
balls?
benchmark workouts, right? And then everyone dies.
Well, I love this one. I did
Did you do it unbroken?
I did it with a female ball, and I'm pretty sure it took me like 15 minutes. And I don't even think I threw it as high as I was supposed
You were
to.
going to like 8 feet.
Yeah. Mind you, when I started CrossFit, I probably weighed about 140 pounds,
How much do you weigh now?
190.
190 pounds. Yeah,
Like-
so you definitely put on some.
Oh yeah,
some mass.
I was a skinny kid. And
That is so
I
funny.
put
That would
on
be
a-
an
put on a
interesting
lot of
first
weight.
workout.
So were you even sore after that then? Like taking that long?
Honestly,
not to knock you. That's a long time.
I don't remember. I think I was okay because I
were just
don't remember
breaking.
being sore. The biggest thing I had when I first started was my shoulders were always sore from snatching.
Yeah.
And everything else was okay because I was this little 140 pound little bodyweight ninja. I could squat, I could pull up, I
Right.
could do all this stuff because I
Did
weighed
you train
nothing.
before CrossFit?
I cycled, and I would go to the gym and do bicep curls.
Yeah. So you were fit.
Yeah, well,
in relation to the average person.
I always joke about CrossFit being the perfect sport for me because when I played sports growing up, I was never the best kid, but I always seemed to be the fittest kid on the team.
Yeah.
And like when I played hockey, I was the fastest and the fittest, wasn't the most skilled. And I've always been pretty good at every sport I've done, but I've never been like amazing. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, CrossFit's perfect.
Yeah.
I just have to be relatively good at
well
everything.
rounded.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm guessing obviously strength was a limitation.
Huge.
When was it where you're like, man, this is something like if I want to be competitive, I'm gonna have to start doing?
It's funny. I've never actually, or I have now, but I had never actually turned around and said, I want to compete in this. Like it just kind of gradually, and I mean, I guess most people are the same. It gradually progressed. It was like, I started winning workouts at the gym, did my first RX workout, And then
what was do you remember what the first RX workout was?
No, I don't. I think it might have been like Helen or something like that, where it's like a low barrier to doing an RX.
But you're super fit already, so you could run and do the kettlebell swings. Nice.
I remember the first workout. I do remember the first workout I ever did properly RX was this like thruster toast. I think it was toast bar running ladder, and the thrusters got heavier and heavier, and they finished at 80 kilos, which is 175 pounds.
That's
I think.
heavy.
Yeah, and it was only one, and for me it was like doing It was
a max effort.
It nearly killed me. Hey, like I remember coming in from this run and just staring at the bar, and I was like, and you know when you power clean at first, and then you get set, and you're like full brace squat, drive out of the top, And I was so pumped that I did it. And then one of the coaches at the time went and did it in the next class and just flogged me.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh
man, it's a good wake up call though, because you can realize like, man, I just need to get stronger.
Yeah,
I can run, I can breathe, but I can't do this.
Yeah, I think for me, because this coach, he was our best athlete at the gym, and he was trying to get to regionals. Strong dude. Like I remember watching him do a 10 RM overhead squat at 120, which is 270, 260. Yeah. Which was really, I was like, oh my God, that's so impressive. And it's still a really strong dude, but he was like 300th in the Pacific region.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'm never going to get there. And then I actually moved down to Canberra, which is down south for those who don't know Australia, to play hockey. And I didn't do CrossFit for like 6 months, came back and did CrossFit. And that open, I did way, way better. I was like, oh, maybe I can
even
do
without
this.
training? You were just doing hockey?
Yeah. But
wow.
hockey training was grueling though. So, I mean, I got stronger through
from
hockey
that
training, because we used to had gym sessions twice a week.
Sweet.
So at least I was doing something.
Yeah.
And then I did relatively well. I still don't think I made it. Oh, I didn't. I obviously didn't make it. I think I was like 300th in the Pacific, and I was like, oh, I'm not that far anymore. From 15,000th to 300th.
Was that the point though, that you were like, man, I want to be competitive?
Yeah. So I did a couple comps with friends, and I loved it. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then I remember when everything switched to sanctionals, I tried to qualify for the Australian CrossFit Champs, and I finished. They were taking top 40, and I finished 47th, I think. Yeah. And I actually did really well in that whole thing, except I had a 3RM overhead squat after this workout it was a two-parter. It was like burpees and something, and I got like 5th place overall. And I remember being like, oh my God, I beat James Newberry. And then there was a 3RM overhead squat, and I got like 112th or something like that. And that pretty much
pushes you down the leaderboard.
Yeah. And even then, that was like, I think I hit 100 kilos, and it was from the floor, which for me at that time was crazy. I think I'd only overhead squatted like 90 kilos from there. So after that, I was like, oh, I can compete. This is awesome. And then I qualified for Down Under CrossFit Champs, which they took 80, and I was in like 40 something again. So still wasn't quite there, but qualified for that, did that, loved it. And then after that, it kind of went pretty well. The next Oz CrossFit Champs.
So when did you reach out to Adam, or how did you hear about Training Think Tank to make that connection?
I think I heard about Training Think Tank quite a while before that, as like I think I'd seen one of the YouTube videos way back. And from there, I started following TTT, and I was like, this is awesome. Found out that coaching's a thing, and you can actually get coaching. Was a uni student, could not afford it, and there was no group program at that time. But there was like an interest, expression of interest for the group program. Right. And I was like, oh, cool, I'll put my name in for that. And I don't think anything happened for like a year. I was just following group programs from there. In that space of time, I'd torn my ACL, so I had to rehab that and everything as well. And then what was it called when it started? The competitors program, maybe? Competitors program. I was on the like first group that signed up to that. So I started on that. I was in that for up until like November that year. And then I found out about a coach more local to me that I signed up with. And I was with him for 2 months. And then he decided like I think it was on the 5th week of the Open leading into the 2019 Torian Pro that he was done with coaching. Wow. So I get this like phone call.
Hey, Matt, I'm sorry.
That's pretty much what it was.
I was like, what the heck, man?
He scheduled a bunch of Zoom calls and was like, hey, I've done everything I needed to do. Like he coached Courtney Ailey, Mitch Cinnamon, like people that went to the game. So he'd had his accomplishments and all that. So, and he was moving on to something bigger.
Sure.
And I was like, oh no, I'm gutted. But we had talked about TTT before, and he actually knew Max. So
Nice.
I said to him, like, I see the value in individual coaching now, and I would like to continue. There's no one in Australia that I really not trust, but like felt like I wanted to be around. So obviously TTT's got all this content coming out, like everything looks really good there. I love the way that everyone here thinks. I kind of resonated with the fact that most people doing CrossFit back home were CrossFit coaches, and were kind of moving off that model. But everyone here was like strength coach turned CrossFit, like just strength coaches in CrossFit, and that resonated with me a lot. So I wanted to come to TTT. So this coach reached out to Max for me. Max reached out to John, and John hooked me up with Adam.
Nice.
So been with Adam since November 2019. So it's been a little while now, but
yeah. And then, obviously we can kind of touch on the COVID stuff, especially in Australia. I know you were locked down for a while, but that probably put a damper in it. But the last 2 years you have qualified for semifinals, correct?
Yeah. So I've been pretty lucky in that sense. I made Torian last year. I actually started in the top heat, which was awesome last year. So like, it was, and I had a really good showing there. Again, honestly, thanks to Adam very much. And then this year I didn't qualify as well, but made it again. So
right. Jumping on with a coach and having like a game plan obviously feels really nice. But what happens when all of a sudden the world turns? Because you joined in November of 2019, and then what was it, like January, February of 2020? Yeah. All of a sudden it's like, hey, we're shutting everything down. And what was it like in Australia?
Australia was very hectic for me. Honestly, for me it was actually really easy, because I lived at home at the time, so I wasn't paying rent. I didn't have bills to pay, apart from like my phone bill and my gym membership and that kind of thing, all my programming. And
your OnlyFans subscription.
Yeah, I've got a few of those. I just come off Oz Champs. I'd done really well there, and then COVID hit literally like 2 weeks after that. We found out that the gyms had to lock down, no one could go in, etc. I was fortunate in that my gym let me take whatever I wanted home.
That's nice.
And then my brother had a welder, and he was playing around with welding stuff, so we made a pull-up bar, bolted it onto the side of my mum's house, and I got to train still for a while at home. And then I actually started being allowed to go into the gym as long as it was quiet and I didn't tell anybody, and it was
so you were allowed.
I was allowed.
I'm using these air quotes.
We were panicking because we'd heard some stuff in Sydney how like gym owners were in their gyms trying to film stuff for their members and keep things online, and the police had come in and it was like a $10,000 fine or something like that for being in your gym.
Yeah.
Even if you own my gym owners, they own the building, like it's their property.
Right. Now, is that true? Because I've also heard the same thing from people over there, but I don't know if that's confirmed.
I think it was very dependent on who found you.
Yeah.
That was what was scary, was everything was open to interpretation. So if the cops pulled in and were like, no, then that was it.
Yeah.
If they were like, oh, okay, it's fine, you were okay.
You got to go home and...
Yeah, so we were like really scared about it. So I would train with no music. I wouldn't turn the lights on. So it was always kind of dark, keep the door shut. So it was really hot as well. But like I at least got to keep training, and Adam kind of helped me leverage that. He's like, just think about it. Everyone else is stuck at home
for sure,
and you get to keep training. So keep training. Yeah. I was like, yep, sweet.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many thoughts that go through my head. 'Cause obviously the whole COVID thing's still going on 2 years later, but it is true for those like in your position, it gives you an advantage to be able to continue to train while others maybe aren't. I think that most people, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but because I don't know about Australia, most people here in the States were able to continue to train.
Most people were.
At the highest level, I guess you should say.
Yeah, I think at the highest level, most people had some access to something, whether it was a home gym or they could go into their gyms. Right. I know CrossFit Torian, I had a client who was an athlete there, and he's a coach there. They were locked out, and it wasn't the gym that said no. It was actually the people they leased the gym from were like, no, you cannot train.
Yeah.
like gym's shut.
Yeah, I've heard of that happening a little bit here in the States, but not often. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like certain states, right? California, that was a struggle for a long time. New
Yeah.
York and maybe some other states that are in more highly populated or blue areas, what we'd call those in the United States, right? But the other thing too is like outside of an athletic performance side of things, it's like all the other clients that I have that maybe aren't doing CrossFit still like they should still train because staying healthy is important, especially to fight COVID. But like we just, our public health messaging, both here in the States and I assume in Australia, just was very poor at that time.
Yeah, ours was very like, you need to be healthy and you need to exercise, but
stay in your house.
gyms are shut. Stay in your house.
Exactly.
If you go out, you need to wear a face mask, so you can't exercise at any reasonable intensity. Blah 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 blah. So it was very mixed, and it was like, oh, well, what do these people do? So one thing we could do is we were allowed to train people at our houses, but it had to be one-on-one. So I couldn't run like a 2-on-1 session or anything like that. So I could have someone come into my house and train, which I tried to do for a lot of my clients, but it's also difficult. You know, I'm in my mum's garage with my brother's project car is it next to us in the garage, and I've got a rower, a biker, a barbell and some dumbbells and that. So you're not exactly offering a quality offering for people in terms of like the equipment setup, but you're trying to do the best you can to help those people. Because I have so many clients that needed to train.
For sure.
Just from a mental side.
Yeah.
So
what is CrossFit? What do you think the competitive side of CrossFit looks like, and where is it going in Australia? Like how competitive is it right now, both on the male and female side, and then where do you see it going in the next couple of years?
I think like honestly, I've talked to a few people about this. I think we should have 5 spots in Australia.
Yeah.
Like
that was actually a question that I wrote down because
we have a really good group. Like I still want to obviously put myself up there as a contender for a spot, but outside of that, like there's Baden Brown, there's Royce Dunn, Jay Crouch, Ricky Garrard, James Newberry's still there, I think. Matt McLeod's back this year. Like there's so many guys in the top 10 in Australia that are like proper games contenders. And then the female side, like there's already been stuff put out about that. You know, Ellie Turner,
I know so many
Tia, Cara,
ladies.
Jamie, and then there's other girls that aren't as well known, but that are all really good as well.
You know, I've been interested to see what that process was like when they were deciding how many spots are going to the games and why they chose. You know what I mean? Like what was the process like, and what was the point?
I thought it was based on your open signups. So like,
is that
North
what it was?
America had such a high number of open registrations that they got more spots, versus Australia not as much. So we don't get the same.
Yeah, Chris, do you know if that's true? Do you know anything about that?
I think it's just on if your country's cool or not.
Probably, yeah.
Australia seems pretty awesome. That's one place I always wanted to go.
Yeah,
It's
good.
Flight is just brutal.
It sucks. 30 hours.
You're about to do that next Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, just only having a few spots seems almost unfair. And then also it's like if we want the most competitive games atmosphere, we need to make sure that the best guys and girls are getting there. And if some are getting left out because of like, even here in the States, for example, you think about some of these, whatever we're calling them now, sanctionals that are coming up or semifinals. There are some where I look at the guys field or the girls field and it's like, there are 8 guys or 8 girls instead of 5 that could go. But then there's another one that's like maybe 3 or 4 that probably, not to knock on anybody, but that's just like based on past performance.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing. Like even for us as Australia, whether it's open registrations or not, if we want more spots going to the games, then when we do get to the games, or those guys that are at the games there, I suppose there's also an air of like, hey, you guys need to do well. You need to make that top 20 for us to get more spots, because they're not going to give us more spots if 3 of those people aren't going to make the top 20, right?
That's true.
So it's kind of a difficult thing. I do find here, from in terms of performance wise, America, North America, Europe not so much, but everyone is so strong.
Yeah.
Like I actually don't think I would have qualified here because my strength numbers wouldn't have got me in the door. Versus in Australia, you can be a lot weaker and still make it. Here it seems to be like, hey, you got to be really, really, really strong.
It seems like the Australians have always been super, quote unquote, like capacity fit, like that in the terms of CrossFit capacity.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that.
Like just can breathe. They're really good grinders. You're a good grinder. I watched you do one of the Torian workouts yesterday, and you just looked like so much more comfortable than most people.
Yeah, it's just I think it might come from like sporting backgrounds in Australia. Like rugby is that's the sport, right?
Yeah.
Rugby, AFL, and I mean cricket's. We won't count cricket. But rugby, AFL, and then there's two types of rugby, and both of them it's an intermittent sport, but it's continuous.
Yeah.
Like rugby, I used to work with rugby guys as a strength coach, and they are so fit.
Right.
Like, I worked at the Broncos, which is one of our NRL teams, as an intern. So I was a glorified water boy. But one of the players down there, 18 years old, weighs like 245 pounds. And I don't know if anyone knows what a 30-15 IFT test is. It's like a fitness test where you run for 30 seconds, 15 seconds off, and the pace picks up. And this guy at 245 pounds got a 21, which is like so
insane.
high. It's super high. I got a 21 and he's got 55 pounds on me.
And he's probably just strong.
Yeah,
strong.
and he is absurdly strong.
Yeah.
And that's like, if you started CrossFit, you'd be so dangerous.
Man,
and that's what most of them are like.
Yeah, that's one of the things I always bring up is like as money comes into the sport and as the sport grows, it's very interesting to me to see what happens with both the male and female, but especially the male side, because so many males go into, here in the US, for example, go into, let's just say, American football, because that's the thing you can make some money in, especially if you're talented. But like you, I've been blessed to see some of the best in the sport, like train some of these guys that are making it into NFL and seeing how powerful, how fast, how strong they are. The difference is, are they enduring? Well, probably not, but I think that's much easier to train than like a guy that hang cleans 400 pounds at 18 years old that's just like naturally a freak, you know what I mean? And can jump 36 inches and all of these amazing things that they do. So I would love to have a way to kind of pull in some of the athletes, both in Australia or here in North America, over in Europe, that are doing other things and kind of see what they could do in the sport.
I remember saying to one of our rugby guys, I worked at another rugby club, which is just below the top, and they feed into the top. And the head strength coach there, he likes CrossFit, and that's like one of the things we've struggled with there is like strength coaches don't like CrossFit.
Right.
But this guy loves CrossFit. And he used to like putting in as like accessory power work, hang snatch.
Yeah.
And we had these guys hang snatching, and I looked at one of them one day. I was like, man, when you were done with CrossFit, when you were done with rugby, come do CrossFit. Like hit me up. I will get you into it because you will be so good.
Right.
Like super strong, beautiful, beautiful positions, and incredibly fit. And it's like, you'd crush this.
Yeah. Speaking of positions, to kind of go back to that first topic, one of the things that happened this year to you, for those that don't follow you, is you went through the quarterfinal process, you did really well, but then all of a sudden you got hit with a penalty that really knocked you on the leaderboard. So what happened in that workout?
So
why were you cheating?
Why was I cheating? Yeah.
Get out of here.
It was event 2, the 3 rounds.
GHD, pistol, muscle up.
Pistol, GHD, muscle up. So I did the workout after the total on the first day. For us, we basically find out at 5 a.m. on Friday morning. So did the total at like 9 o'clock that morning, did that workout about midday. And I finished the workout, was watching my video, and I was like, oh man, my pistols are, and I was genuinely worried about them. My pistols are a little bit tight here. And I was like, it's maybe a few, like I can probably.
You didn't think that during the workout, you thought it watching your video?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a whole other rabbit hole, but it's, you're trying to go as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And for me, that was like a really good workout. I put up, my score was, I think 6th or 7th in Oceania.
Yeah.
And I was like, awesome. That's a great score. But trying to push the pace, and that obviously I paid for it. So I wasn't standing up my pistols properly, on all of them. And then I had kind of thought about redoing the workout, but I had to then do event 1 that night as well. And
to fit within the time.
What killed me is after that workout, I spent the next 3 hours with my quads cramping every time I stood up. So I had to wait. By the time I got the first workout done, it was 8 o'clock at night, and it's like, there's no more time. So I kind of just was like, all right, I'm just going to put this in and, hope for the best. And that's the kind of the downside of it is. But anyway, I woke up the next morning, all was good. I was like, scores were great. I'm in 7th in the region. Both of my scores were really good. I think I had a 7th and a 12th or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was on the way to the gym. I had to go past the hardware store to get some tape for laying out the tape lines. Pull up at the hardware store, pull my phone out, and I've got a message from CrossFit Games that morning. You've received a major penalty. And
It's the worst email to get.
Yeah. And my heart sank. I was like, I'm done. That's it. Like, and I had my trip to here booked in and everything. I was like, it's a waste. Like, it's over. Anyway, message Adam, was like panicking. And they actually gave me a penalty for my pistols, but they also penalized me on my GHDs for touching to the side, not directly overhead, which at the time I didn't even realize. Like it's probably a little bit my fault for not reading the standards properly. I knew about it from last year, but I assumed I was okay. Versus now I've learned my lesson. Film yourself, do a half a round first, and then watch it and check. Yeah. So that was a tough lesson to learn, but yeah, got penalized on that as well. I appealed it, but obviously they don't.
Yeah, I don't think they accepted anybody's appeals.
They were good about it. Like they actually had some back and forth conversation throughout the email, which was nice. It's at least nice to know that they're not like, nope, bye, and kick you out. Anyway, I got penalized a minute and 11, which put me from 7th in that workout to I think 28th or something like that. So I was really relieved to see that I was still in the top 30.
Right.
But that also getting that message on that morning right before I had to do another 2 workouts was kind of like a stab to the heart.
Yeah.
So that didn't exactly set me up too well for the day. But yeah, so nearly didn't qualify because of that.
Yeah. So many people got no reps. And I think it's actually a really good process that CrossFit is going through. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts though on like, do you think, how would you refine it? If you're in charge, how are you refining the whole quarterfinal process? Because, and let me just kind of throw this out. Maybe I'm directing you too much here, but just in general.
Don't direct him.
Okay.
Let him say what he wants to say.
I think as a whole, the standards have to be like really, really clear. The thing that I think is really difficult is, so I had one of the girls from our gym judge me. She qualified. And before the workout, she was like, I'm so nervous to judge me.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't want to fuck up. I don't want to like mess you up. I was like, it'll be fine. Just no rep me if you see a no rep. I'll fix it. Like, whatever. Now, this girl is also invested in me making it.
For sure.
Through to semis, right? So she's going to see this pistol and she's probably asking herself in her head, like, oh, is that a no rep? Is that okay? Oh, I can't tell. And I'm going fast. Like I did my 30 pistols in like, I think it was like 45, 50 seconds, which is like, that was quick.
That's moving.
Yeah, because you didn't finish them.
Because I didn't finish them.
You did 22 reps.
So like for her, like you can imagine is he deep enough? Oh, is he standing up? Oh, is he deep enough? Like she's trying to figure that out the whole time. So I think and it wasn't like they were like, you know, I'm still leant way over my legs. It was like, my hip just didn't lock. And I think that's the hard part is the onus being on that judge who, yes, so everyone that did quarterfinals with me at our gym, I told them they had to take the judges course. I was like, you need to do this judges course because you need to understand and you also need to be able to judge someone so that we can sign them off. So she'd done the judges course, but I think, you know, it's a judges course. It took me 45 minutes to do, skipping through all the videos.
Right. And most people usually get the answers and then still skip through the videos and then just type in the answers that someone else gave them.
Yeah,
that's just how it works.
So I think it's a little bit unfair to put that on somebody who's emotionally invested in that athlete to make it. That being said, I don't know what else they can do for that. You know, there's got to be the onus is obviously on the athlete to meet the movement standard, but when you're trying to go that fast, you don't always see it.
Yeah. So you're not going to feel it in the middle of the workout.
Exactly.
And it also is challenging for CrossFit because there are some people that are intentionally trying to cheat. Like we've seen that in the past with people looping videos or maybe someone like intentionally is not standing up on certain movements or knows that they're not getting to depth. Like there are those things. I guess my issue has always been, so like we go back to the Hiller stuff, right? To talk about him for a little bit because we can give him some publicity and let him continue to blow up with all the garbage he's putting out there. Not all of it's garbage, but he's definitely clickbaity.
Yeah.
As a judge, as a coach, let's say I no rep Travis on a couple of them that look questionable, but then when CrossFit reviews it, they wouldn't have given him no reps on that. Let's just say that another 10 guys that are trying to get a game spot all do the exact same thing, but their judge says, I'm just going to let this pass because CrossFit can handle it when they do the review process. Yeah. But all of them get good reps. except I gave Travis 10 no reps.
Yeah.
So now Travis is 11th out of these 11 guys because I, the judge, dictated what was a good rep and bad rep, even though I'm not in charge of what a good rep and bad rep is. CrossFit HQ is. So now I screwed Travis over because I wanted to hold the standard. Meanwhile, all these other guys skirted the standard. CrossFit HQ gave them good reps, and now they're all ahead of him.
Yeah.
That's also not a morally correct position, right? That just screws everyone. So to me, it's almost like, should the judge even do anything at this point?
No.
I mean, CrossFit HQ
make everyone pay an additional fee to go into a thing where you're going to guarantee video review everybody.
Thank you.
I think that's very fair because that's what I used to. I mean, I've kind of changed my tune a little bit now, but that's what I used to say is like to my judge, I'm like, don't no rep me, they'll do it.
Yeah.
Like if they're going to do it,
I mean, that is their job. Now you're still holding the standard.
Yeah.
You're still doing everything that you can. But at the end of the day, why give you bad reps that they may say are good reps?
Yeah,
I mean, that's just the reality of it. Now, with that said, just because people are going to give us hate on this so that listen to it, in training, like we have a semifinal camp this weekend, one of the things that I will do as the 22 people that are on site that are prepping for semifinals, I'm going to go around. If I see Matt that's close, I'm just going to no rep you because that's intent. Like you need to feel that for competition.
Yeah,
but
100%.
if it's on the line and you're trying to qualify for something, I just don't see why a judge would screw someone over if CrossFit
and
may
the
say
amount
something different.
Like you said, when you said your girl that was judging you was invested, it's just like all the people who are online, like, you know, talking shit. Like, I bet you if they came in and we made them shake hands with Sarah Sigma's daughter and, you know, then go judge her, they would not do shit.
No.
Like,
Well, the other challenge too, and this is going to get me in hot water, but it's like Hiller's calling some people out, but then he's like praising other organizations, one in particular that you can go and see that there were bad reps on some of the team
who's he
workouts that they
praising?
did. A certain organization that's not far away. Like, I mean, it just is what it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like you like certain people, but to your point, we all praise or adore certain people. And so we protect those people in said videos and then knock on others. And I think it's a really good thing for the sport. Like I had a master's athlete who he was a potential games contender and he just got a major penalty and he got knocked out of semifinals. So he doesn't even get to go in a couple of weeks, which sucks, right? And it's really painful because he's worked really hard and he's definitely good enough. Yeah. I reviewed the video and we had a conversation. It's like, I could see where they said that these particular reps were no reps. Yeah. And there's nothing we can do about it. But if I watch the other videos of the other 30 guys that made it, because he's a 55 to 59,
probably find more.
None of them are meeting the overhead squat standard.
All those videos need to be public.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, like 0 of those guys met the squat standard on every single rep. And that's just, it's not a knock on them. I know how hard it is to move. I can barely meet the squat standard at 32. So when you're 55 and 50 or 59, it's hard.
Yeah, you're not judging them as like people.
I'm just saying it's just very challenging for those people. So we're getting in a situation where we are randomly picking people, no repping them. And then some people don't get their views. I know people that their videos did not even get reviewed as individual quarterfinal qualifiers. Yeah. And because of that, other people maybe got knocked out or got in. It's just a mess.
Yeah. I know of one in Australia where I got sent this person's video and someone was like, all of these are no reps. And I watched the video and I was like, yeah, they are.
You know, another solution.
But because that person was so far back, same thing. They didn't get reviewed.
Right.
So
exactly.
It's okay.
Yeah. I mean,
go back to regionals. Do it live.
Do it live. Just happen.
Bigger live settings, like more.
Because then it's on the actual judge and not like this video review video thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that still goes back. It will be an ongoing problem, and I totally get how challenging it is. And, you know, it's easy for us to have conversations about this because we're not the ones in charge. But even in a live setting, you can watch. Like I was at the games last year. I'm watching, especially some masters athletes because I was working with some of them, and I'm looking at guys left and right that are not meeting the standard that were getting good reps. Yeah. And then sometimes where the guys I'm working with didn't meet the standard, but they got good reps. And honestly, I'm like, whew, I'm glad they gave that to them because that wasn't a squat snatch or whatever it was, right? But they did, and it's the judge's responsibility, but those judges are also still emotionally tied to not disappointing the athlete, or if it's a higher level athlete, maybe they want to protect them. Like there are a lot of things that go into that.
I feel like if they're going to, especially for masters, because this seems to be a really big thing with the masters at the moment, was like the overhead squat and being able to meet depth, is like if they're going to keep that system, then maybe, you know, masters needs to change. Maybe they need to stop asking masters to do overhead squats.
Yeah. Well, at least at those age groups, if no one is meeting it, but they're letting them get away essentially with a
no one meeting
parallel.
It though?
Legitimately, of the videos that I could see, maybe 10%.
Well, that 10%, their argument would be like, well, I have this flexibility is one of my strong suits, and strength is a weakness of mine, and you're not just going to lower the weight for every,
Yeah, I agree with you.
You're taking away one of my strengths.
But ahead of time.
Which is how this whole sport works.
Yes.
Strengths and the different pieces of fitness.
Yeah. I agree.
As judged
and
by
flexibility
CrossFit.
should be one of them, especially for the Masters athletes. Ahead of time, though, they should say, not just the top 30 videos are getting reviewed, because that's essentially what they did. It should be like the top 120 videos are getting reviewed, and every single one we're going to review the exact same way, take screenshots of the no reps, and then post those live for everyone else to see. And here's why you would do the top 120, because let's say my guy who finished 21st or whatever, he had one workout where he finished 75th. I don't know what any of the guys, the 74 guys ahead of him, actually did. What if he technically should have finished 60th in that workout? Well, that 15 points would have still, even with his no reps, bumped him back into the semifinals. Yeah. So again, yes, I'm biased towards that guy, but that could happen to anybody, or you could get screwed out of a spot because of that, or get bumped up a spot because of that.
You know what would make a great YouTube show, Free Idea CrossFit, is them just live streaming them going through the videos. You know how much ad revenue you would make by people just wanting to watch you judge people's videos?
Yeah. The last thing I say on this, and we've brought this up, I'm sure, in a different podcast, but I think it could just be everyone has to make their videos public the day of, and then it's just like a counter, right? Like a up or down vote. And then once you get so many down votes, then they have to review it as well.
Yeah, I think that would actually be pretty good, because I would happily sit there and look at people's videos. Like,
well, everyone would.
Nope.
Even the people that say, "Oh, I don't care," like they would be going.
The other thing is, like, I don't know what other people are like, but me personally, if I'm going to put my video out and it's going to be public, I don't want people going, that guy. I don't want to be David Hippensteel.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want people to be like, oh my God, look at this guy.
Right.
I would prefer to just.
I think it was Savon or someone else had a good idea where it's like, we got to start punishing judges somehow. That hey, if you say you got a major penalty in that, like, punish that girl as a judge. Now she can't judge anymore.
I think she gulped enough punishment when I told her about it.
I'm sure she felt so bad.
She was very upset.
Yeah.
She was more upset than me.
I think I'm passionate about this because Travis actually won an open workout back in like 2015 that I judged him on, and I judged him hard. I gave him.
That was 2017 or 18.
Yeah, there are multiple. There are two that he won that I judged him on, and both of them I gave him multiple no reps because they were legit no reps.
And
they gave him the reps for those and no repped him on other things that when you slow mode it, they weren't even close. Like he clearly met the standard.
The other thing about that is, like, on slow mo is should they be allowed to watch your video back on slow motion?
Yeah,
I think
that's a good question.
Because if your judge has to view you in live time,
you're right. I mean, that's where you just switch to video only.
Yeah. That would be the thing. Is no in-person judge, and it's all slow mo if you're going to do it that way.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say about slow mo, I hear you out, but other sports do slow mo for, like, is the ball in bounds or out of bounds and all that, because it is so fast that a ref, let's say in basketball, can't see it.
Yeah, that is true.
But with a squat or like,
well, there needs to be some kind of like, it's got to be balanced out some way. Like,
I think it's just highlighting how hard it is to actually judge the sport. This is like really a crazy thing to try to do. So God bless anyone trying.
I would love to just say, everyone slow down and do it properly, but that's not what's going to happen.
No, well, if I say you have to do more reps than me, what are you going to do? You're not going to slow down. You're going to go as fast as you can.
Yeah, so
we have set ourselves up for failure with a sport that requires as many reps as possible or the fastest time possible.
Yeah, everyone's just going to try and go fast.
Could you just do things where it's it wouldn't be as fun, but it's like hand release push-ups and hand release deadlifts.
People will still, you would get no rep because if your feet come off the ground, they would say that's like a worm.
The way I think about it is, have you ever been to an in-person competition, like just a local low-level competition, and watched the scale division?
Yeah.
Those guys rip that bar off the floor, and it doesn't even it's like boom, and then they're back down again. You're like, how? And that's what it's kind of trending towards, right? Is like everyone's just going as fast as they can. And the line's got to be blurred somewhere, and someone's got to.
Dude, we should start highlighting that. That sounds like a fun job. Just going around the world and highlighting local scaled competitions.
You see some movers.
All right, here we got Rick here. It's his first time out on the floor.
Yeah,
you're really moving that 95.
They were way better back in the day when everyone was basically scaled. Like even the best guys were still in the scaled division.
That's long
crazy.
before my time.
Yeah, I mean, it really is crazy how much better everyone the scale division is much better, but then also obviously, as you know, the elites are much better.
It's scary.
So you came over to the States for it'll be a full month.
Yeah.
What drove that decision? Was that something you and Adam talked about?
I've wanted to come out here for so long.
Yeah.
Like a very, very long time. And obviously COVID put a massive dent in that.
Right.
Because for us to leave Australia it would have cost me like $10,000 just to fly here. Then it's a 2-week quarantine when I get home at a hotel that I don't get to choose. So I have to pay, $3,500 for a hotel for 2 weeks. So obviously that's not realistic. So I messaged Adam maybe a month or so before quarterfinals and was like, hey, our borders just opened. When would be a good time for me to come out and train? Like, I'd really love to get in-person time.
Yeah.
Me thinking like, towards the end of the year. And Adam's like, could you make between quarters and semis? I was like, I love it. Don't think so, but I'll look. Anyway, I looked into it, checked the flights, and I was like, all right, I'm coming. Like, that's it. How are these dates? And I had a ton of time off leave from work, so I just took it and was like, all right.
So what has it been for you? Do you feel like it has been a productive time being here, getting Adam with his actual hands and eyes on you?
It's the smallest things, right? Like, yes, there's the environment and the push. And you guys saw it. The first 2 weeks, I seemed to manage to write myself off in every single workout trying to keep up with Travis.
Yeah.
And so that mental push has been good. But then in terms of like getting time with Adam, it's small things. Like we changed my rope climbs and I flew up the rope the other day. We changed my snatch and I technically PR'd here by 1 kilo because it was 245 pounds, which is 111 kilos. And we just changed some small things. And one of the things we changed, like on the snatch, I said to him, it feels like a whole different movement.
Right.
Like I don't even feel like I'm snatching anymore. It feels different. So that time of being hands-on and then also just thinking about different ways of attacking workouts and all that has just been valuable because normally it's me on my own going, I think I'll do this.
Yeah.
So having him there to I think you should do this on this, take a risk here, etc., has been very valuable.
Yeah. So. It's so cool to see people come on site and even you over the last couple of weeks and get to compete with others that are just as good or even better at some things than you. And then you can kind of really start to refine your own game. Yeah. Like maybe you say you have to chase Travis on some things, but maybe something else you're a little bit faster. And then you got to figure out, okay, what is it like being in the lead with someone else that's really good? Yeah. And you can really start to refine that going into something like Torian.
Yeah. And that's what killed me. So Torian last year, I was in the lead after day one. Yeah. And I didn't know what to do. Right. I panicked and
the pressure is serious. Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved it. Like the first workout, you're in the middle lane and it's and then I shit the bed in that workout. I got no rep on a lunge, had to go back a whole 5 meters. I don't know, 15 feet.
Call it 15 feet. A little more.
And I wasn't in the lead, but I was up the front of the heat and I was about to put up a really good time, and that no rep just went. I was like, oh, I'm gone. Yeah. And after that, my whole day was bad. The next workout, I copped nearly last place because I just couldn't deal with I came out too hot trying to catch up and and then the workout in the afternoon was a lifting event, which, as I've said, is not exactly a strong suit. I PR'd and did really well, but it was still 19th place out of 30. So having the environment here where I've got to chase people and push, and when it really hurts, still having to be like, no, you got to keep going, has been good. I can do that by myself all the time, but I can push really hard alone and still put up a really, really hard time. It's more the mental side of it saying like, yes, he's beating you, but you got to keep going. Yeah. Or you're ahead of him. You've just got to hold this. Don't try and push too hard. Don't try and chase him, whatever it is.
The racing aspect, even if you're putting up the same time, is emotionally different.
Mental and that part of it has been interesting for me to learn. Even like with the camp, we had that workout, that 18-minute AMRAP of 12 cal row, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 burpee box jump overs. Adam put me next to another guy on purpose. Yeah. And beforehand, we'd kind of talked about, don't go out too hard, etc., blah, blah, blah. I did the first 4 rounds really, really fast to try and make him go really, really fast. Right. And he did. And then he fell off and I didn't. And I was like, oh, thank God I can slow down now. But it was like that little bit of experimenting and getting to see okay, I can push here and try and affect somebody else as well is the other side of it. So learning when I can and can't do that has been interesting.
And then the other thing you talked about, like Adam being able to have his eyes on you and tweak some things here or there. That is one of the challenges of remote coaching.
Yeah.
There are some things that you can tweak, especially like with the obvious stuff, right? Doing a movement assessment and you see someone has like this deficiency and it's like, okay, here are the things we're going to do. But there's nothing better than actually seeing the person under fatigue, especially if they're trying to be a high level athlete like you.
It's so valuable. Like even within the first week, Adam said to me, he's like, something you do is you fold at your hips when you're tired. And everything is like just hips over, bums sticking out. Like that's your position. So when you're overhead, when you're deadlifting, whatever it is, that position's there and we need to fix that. He's like, I'd never seen that before. But it's like, I'm probably not sending you a bunch of workouts where I'm fatigued.
Yeah, 20 minutes into a workout.
Exactly. Right. So that is very useful. And like I have the same thing with athletes that I coach. They come to the gym and I'm like, oh, wow, we need to fix this. There's something I just didn't know about.
For sure.
And you see it when they work out. So being on site's like, I think super valuable for that, obviously.
All right. So a couple wrap-up questions for you, and then we're going to do some rapid fire so that we can have a little fun before we finish.
Yeah, Alexis is out there waiting on us.
Oh, Alexis. She keeps switching the times. I'm going to give her a hard time when we podcast.
If she's switching times, she can wait.
Yeah, exactly.
No, this has been like a podcast 8 months in the making.
I heard. We walked the dogs. We went and walked the dogs this morning. She was telling us about
She's
it.
the worst.
Hold on. Before, actually, I just remembered something. You drove for the first time today.
I did.
In the United States.
I did, yeah. On the other
How
side
was
of the
that?
road. It was good. I
You didn't wreck, which
No,
is
I
nice.
didn't wreck. I didn't crash Adam's car, despite him telling me I should.
I want to get rid of this.
He said he wants a new car, so he said I won't be mad if you crash it. No, it was okay. I learned how to drive on the right hand side of the road anyway, so it wasn't
not that cool.
super weird. But I said to Adam, it's like doing some task, not something that's super dexterous, like riding or something, but maybe like throwing a ball with the wrong hand. That's what it felt like.
That's hard enough, though.
Yeah.
So you could. There's a potential to wreck.
That's what it feels like driving in Australia. You mean.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
the thing that actually freaks me out more, other than the side of the road when driving in another country, is like the little things, like the rules when turning right.
Yeah, the right of ways and all that.
That's where I was like, oh man, I'm gonna totally.
That is so true.
You just act like you know what you're doing and you should be good.
Fake it till you make it.
Go to Florida.
You ever get to a
Everyone
stop
tries like
sign, you hadn't been paying attention, you're like, fuck, what? Just
Stop.
act like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's back there now. I don't have to worry about that.
So what is the long-term goal for you? What's the goal going into Torian this year? And then what do you, have you and Adam kind of talked about the structure of the next couple of years for you?
Yeah, I have always been really hesitant to say this, but in the last year or so I have said it, is I want to make the games. Like it's top three. Like I finished in 9th last year. I was first after day one. So I've like shown myself like, hey, you can do this. I'm not at the point where it's like where it doesn't matter what it is, I can do it. Like for me, things have to be pretty dialed in. Like the workouts have to suit and all that kind of stuff. So, that's the goal, whether it's this year, next year, the year after. At some point, I would like to make the games. I'm fit enough to make the games. There's a strength side of it that has to come with it. The guys who are making the games have got 20 kilos on both lifts on me, and that's just what it is. So I want to do that. Obviously, there's I need to put on strength. I'm 190 pounds now. 200 would probably be a really good weight for me. So put on some strength, get a little bit heavier, and then just keep everything else where it is really. And there's a few little capacity things that come with time, I think. I've been in the sport for 5 years now. So
that's young now.
Yeah, exactly.
You think about some of these guys. Noah's been in it for 10 years.
Well, and the thing is Noah, I'm probably like baseline levels, and I might cop some flack for this, but I'm probably just as aerobically fit, or whatever you want to call it, as Noah is. Noah can just express that fitness in ring muscle ups and
he's really refined the skills to be very efficient.
That you can fully, for them, it's like, and I hear this talked about all the time, for them, everything is aerobic and it's cyclical, more or less, right? Like they can just express their capacity in everything. I'm not quite there yet. Like I can't express that full capacity in every workout. Like I can do 30 ring muscle ups, probably unbroken, like if I really pushed. But if you gave me 30 ring muscle ups in a workout in some aspect, it's probably not going to go super well.
Yeah.
So just keep refining that, get stronger. There's thoughts of trying to maybe move out here.
Oh,
But
let's do it, man. I've heard that you
it's
have
not
been
easy.
the Rogers favorite. I shouldn't say this out loud.
They love
because some people,
the boys love me.
Yeah, you've been the favorite house guest, and
Yeah.
I hear that you call Lola, who's the grandma, and that's not her name, but
Lola. Is that not her name? No. Oh man.
You didn't know. That.
No,
I think that's like what they call her for, like, that's their word for grandma.
Oh my god, everyone calls her Lola.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so funny.
Debbie is the real name, but I appreciate that you.
Well, I just called her Lola. I
Yeah.
thought her name was Lola. I'm gonna give Adam
Oh.
so much crap for that.
I didn't know. I thought
wasn't
you were
gonna-
being like cute. You know
Oh
what
no,
I mean?
I wasn't gonna call her Adam's mom. I wasn't gonna be like,
Hey,
"Hey,
Adam's
Adam's
mom."
mom." Yeah, you know, I was like,
No, I appreciate that. Who's
Lola.
this is our first rapid fire. Who's the best Halo player in the Rogers household?
Owen.
Owen.
Caleb's gonna
Better
hate,
than you?
Caleb's gonna hate. I suck.
okay.
Actually, you know what? Adam's actually really good at Halo.
Okay. I think Adam, he wanted me to ask you that, and I think he wanted you to say him.
It's a toss up between Owen and Adam, but all of them are better than me. To be
All
honest,
right.
I think even if Becky jumped on, she'd be better than me.
I've never played, so I'm sure I would suck.
I'm
People
terrible.
probably hate that I said
Absolutely
that, but I never
terrible.
played video games. If you could be any person, dead or alive, for one day, who would it be?
Oh man, that's a hard question. I don't know.
People. Why is everyone so bad at answering
It's
these
just you want to
questions?
give a cool answer. You don't want to just give something
you don't want
lame.
to be lame. Honestly, I would probably want to be a professional hockey player.
Okay.
Because that was like an ambition
yeah.
that I had, and
I love it.
it doesn't matter who. Maybe let's just be lame. Let's say Sidney Crosby or Connor
I mean, that would
McDavid or
be
something.
awesome.
Just want to be
Any
the best-
high level
the best for one
athlete,
day.
I would, any sport.
Yeah.
Give me any sport the best at that. Even in their era, I would
Yeah.
love that. That
I
would
just
be
want to
so
know.
much
Just
fun.
want to know what that was like.
Yeah.
Or just
I
for
agree.
one day. What could I? I mean, not what could I have been, but what did I want to be?
Yeah, exactly. All right, if I gave you $1 million tax free right now today on this table, you have to spend it all in one day. What's the first thing that you're buying?
We said this before, but if I give you the corny answer, it's happiness. But I said my first answer was
Lame.
My first answer was gas, because then I could buy the gas and sell the gas and make more money.
Just you know what? You're a market man. I
Exactly,
appreciate
that's it.
that.
You gotta-
Make more money with the money that I gave you.
But honestly, though, if I had $1 million to do whatever I want with, I would probably try and set up like the sexiest gym I
man,
could
I
with
know.
$1 million. But that being
Ooh,
said,
that would be nice.
Equipment's
Just have
pretty-
like a really
equipment-
awesome garage gym, man
Yeah.
cave thing.
yeah, equipment's pretty expensive, so I might need
it would
more
be
than
gone.
$1 million.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would be gone if you had a big facility. You
Yeah.
have to, just like your garage. What you're saying, right?
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
smaller.
I would.
You could do that.
I would
yeah,
make something real cool.
for sure. All right, last one. You're stuck on a desert island. You can only take one thing with you. What would that thing be? Not another person.
I wouldn't want another person. To be honest. I would probably take, for simplicity's sake, a knife.
Could you take a dog?
No animals. Come on, man. You can make a friend on the island.
I think I would take a knife,
So
but
there
not
was
like a little knife.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
big one.
a big
Yeah, yeah.
like machete kind of knife. Because then I could make a house. I could. As much as I hate
Travis
to do
said
it,
You
he'd
could
take
make a
animals.
house.
I mean, you know, a shelter.
something that covers you from the rain that
Yeah.
leaks.
And then I could make sparks. So I can make a fire.
How are you? What are you hitting it on to make sparks?
A rock.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
Haven't
don't
really
know.
tried it, but we'll try.
See what happens.
I saw it in the movies one time.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Where can people find you if they want to follow your journey through Torian and the rest of the season?
At the Matt Gilpin on Instagram. If you're wondering how that works, just do it like Travis's one, the Travis Mayer, the Matt Gilpin.
Oh, does he? Is he the?
Did
Travis
you follow
Mayer?
suit? You saw him do it? so
No,
you did
I
it?
actually, it used to be M Gilps 15, and I was like, this
Ugh,
is
that's
so
gross.
lame. And
I don't understand why people have the lane. Like, I mean, if your name was John Smith, then I get if you
Yeah,
had
yeah.
John
Well-
_ Smith 1586.
Matt Gilpin was taken, surprisingly. So I was like, oh man, and I thought about, I wanted something cool, people know
Big
who
Daddy
I am.
Matt.
Yeah,
No, something.
not that cool. I was either I am Matt Gilpin or the Matt Gilpin. So the Matt Gilpin.
But did you beat Travis or no?
At what?
Who did the?
He was way before me, but no one knows who Travis is, so it's all right.
Yeah. Well, that makes two of you.
Trevor. Yeah, I know who Trevor is.
Yeah. Matt, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me
Good
on.
luck at Torian.
What should we ask Alexis?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Ask
all
her,
right, see you next week.
ask her if she got a dog clean today.
Was it clean or was it a vet appointment? Did she lie to me?
So No, she had the vet.
Oh, okay. She's like, I just need to take him to the pet wash.
Her dog's got like an ear thing, but we went walking today, and obviously after last night's storms and stuff, it was pretty muddy. So he went from white to brown real quickly.
What kind of dog is it?
It's like a Groodle poodle or something like that. It's got furry fur. Curly
All
fur.
right. All right, folks.
Thank you.